Have you ever received one of those big yellow postcards in the mail? You know, the one that says, "We'll buy your house fast for cash today." Well, you may be thinking, are these companies actually legitimate or are they all just a big scam? If you're in a situation where you're considering selling your house fast for cash and you're really considering working with one of these companies, then stick around because in today's video, we'll unveil the truth behind the We Buy Houses company's franchise and exactly how you can sell your house fast for a cash offer. I've searched Google far and wide to compile a list of the most 15 common questions that home sellers are searching when they're considering working with one of these cash buyers. Let's go ahead and start with question number 1. It should come as no surprise that the top search question is, are We Buy Houses companies a scam? And while the market has had its fair share of bad actors, not all home buying companies are illegitimate. Scams exist everywhere, and it's essential to do your research and due diligence irregardless. Reputable companies do exist and can be a lifeline for homeowners in specific situations. So always make sure to do your research, check reviews, check BBB ratings, and ask for references from local companies like attorneys, real estate escrow services, and anyone that could give you a legitimate vow on their behalf. Doing the legwork to verify that the cash home buyer that you're looking to work with is a legitimate company can help you distinguish between trustworthy companies and the ones that really do give the industry a bad name. So what does it mean to sell your house for cash to one of these cash buyers? Selling a house to a traditional owner-occupant buyer can often be time-consuming due to loan approvals, contingencies, inspections, or issues with the title that can delay closing. Selling for cash to a cash buyer means that the buyer will pay the full amount up front without the mortgage. These cash buyers will typically skip the appraisal process, lengthy inspections, and often will buy your house completely as is, which allows for a smoother and faster transaction. Question number 3, why would you want to sell your house fast? So there are many reasons why you may find yourself in a situation where you're looking to sell your house quickly, but here are the top 10. Number 1 would be debt. Selling a house fast can provide immediate financial relief and prevent further financial strain. Number 2, divorce. Selling to a cash buyer during divorce allows for a smoother asset division and mitigates the decision of you having to decide on a realtor together. The number 3 reason in which you may find yourself wanting to sell your house fast is because you or a loved one is experiencing medical issues and you need to pay outstanding medical bills, or you have caregiving responsibilities. Number 4, you inherited a home. Selling quickly simplifies managing an inherited property and can reduce conflict between the heirs. Number 5, relocation. Moving for a career or lifestyle changes often requires a quick sale, and it allows you to avoid double expenses when trying to buy a home and sell your home at the same time. Number 6, you may be dealing with bad tenants. Selling to a cash buyer can provide immediate relief from problematic tenants, as most cash buyers will inherit the tenants as is. Number 7, significant repairs. Selling to a cash buyer avoids the burden and the headache of having to manage repairs or updates on your property and can save you a significant amount of time and money. Number 8, avoiding auction. Selling quickly can help you prevent an auction, whether that's foreclosure or a tax auction or any type of auction scenario, often closing before the auction date. And number 10 has to be time constraints. A fast sale meets urgent personal timelines, avoiding prolonged listing periods with no showings or virtually no downtime. Recently, an NAR statistic showed that the median days on the market is 47 days, but cash buyers can often close and provide payment to you in under 30 days after seeing your property. So the fourth question that we came across on Google that's most commonly searched are, what are the actual benefits of selling your house for cash to one of these cash home buying companies? Well, number one has to be fast closings. You can get your money for your home in as little as 7 days compared to months with traditional buyers. The number two benefit, no repairs. By not repairing your house, you can save time, cost, and any effort that it would take for you to make those upgrades or updates. Cash buyers are often buying houses completely as is. The number third benefit would be that it's simple and convenient with fewer steps, less paperwork, and no prep work to get your house on the market. You don't have to deal with any marketing, no staging, and you can avoid public showings completely. And cash buyers will often pay the closing costs, which is usually 4 to 6% of the overall purchase price. And of course, there are no commissions when you're working with a cash buyer. There are no lender appraisals or loan contingencies, so that completely eliminates the risk for delays or low appraisals or even like a request for repairs. Overall, you have less stress. It's a more straightforward process with fewer hassles and less negotiating back and forth with the buyer. And a bonus is that most cash buyers are familiar with dealing with title issues and will help you resolve those issues during the escrow process. And it is important to note that even though you may want to sell your house quickly, cash buyers can be flexible with their closing timeline. Since there are no contingencies and no lender waiting to close on the property, they can often extend it further so you can get your personal issues in order. And another thing to note, even though you may be looking to sell your property quickly, cash buyers don't have to close in 7 days. Because there are no contingencies or there is no lender waiting to approve the loan, they can be flexible with their closing timeline, often allowing you the time to handle your personal affairs before actually closing escrow. So the number 5 question that we came across on Google is, what kind of houses do they buy? Do they only buy ugly houses? Will they buy my house if it's in good condition? So contrary to popular belief, cash home buyers do not only buy ugly homes. They are looking for single family properties, whether that's in poor condition or in well-maintained shape, newer or old. They're also looking for multifamily properties as well as land. Oftentimes they may be looking for mobile home parks or individual mobile homes. Investors really will consider any property that makes financial sense to them. So really, you should allow them to at least view your property once to be able to get an idea of what their ballpark offer would be. Number 6, do you need to do any repairs or update your property prior to selling to a cash buyer? Now, this is a great question because oftentimes a lot of sellers are under the impression that if they update their property or paint their property or in their mind do what it takes to make it newer, that would add value to the investor. And it's important to understand that investors are looking at the property completely different than an owner occupant would. So they are already accounting into their offer what they are going to need to do to the property. However, it's a very fine line. If you decide to spend money on adding new carpet or let's say putting certain cabinetry in or painting, that investor may come in and not align and not like that style and completely change it because they know what's going to sell on the market today. So you wasted your time and effort into updating the property to what you think looks good, but the investor may have a completely different plan in mind. So I often recommend people to leave their property as is, just take what they need from the home and let the investor do the rest. Question number 7, how quickly can they actually buy houses? So cash buying home companies can expedite the sale and the entire escrow process pretty fast without needing lender appraisal or any type of approvals. They face fewer hiccups during escrow. Typically, after you initially contact them and they do their physical assessment of the property, you should be able to get an offer within 28 to 48 hours. And the Closing process is pretty streamlined. Most of the time, it could take 7 to 10 days or 30 days max. The only time that I've seen it stall or be held up is if there are title issues that need to be addressed and solved during the escrow process. This could be the case in dealing with probate, foreclosure, any types of liens on the property. It's always a good idea to make sure that the buyer does put a sufficient amount of EMD down, which is your earnest money deposit, to make sure that they are secured and locked into the deal. Number 8, how does selling for cash actually work? So selling your house for cash to a cash home buying company or even an individual investor is a pretty straightforward process. So here is how it works. Your initial job is to make contact. So reach out to a local home buying company in your area. A quick Google search will reveal a lot of different websites. It's important to study their website, make sure it looks legit. I often recommend to review their About Me page and contact the ones that you feel comfortable with. If there's a cell phone number on there, give them a call. After you connect with an investor, most of them will want to come out to your property and see it in person, or they may give you a preliminary offer over the phone. So they'll do a quick assessment and give you a ballpark range of where they think their price will fall. And after that, they will come out to your property and do a physical assessment. So once they do a physical assessment, whether that's by themselves or with a contractor, once they can see exactly the actual condition of the property, they should be able to provide you with a firm offer without any contingencies or any inspection periods. If there is an inspection period, maybe your property is not as straightforward and maybe there needs to be a little bit of due diligence. I've seen this in the case of where they need to verify if a property can be built on the lot being sold. So there are little nuances that come into that, but typically an inspection contingency period shouldn't be longer than 7 days. Once you've accepted a firm offer from the buyer, then they will open up escrow immediately. They will connect you with the escrow or title service in your area, and the title company will reach out to you and have you sign opening documents. The opening package is significantly smaller than when working with a realtor or traditional buyer because there is no loan. So typically escrow can take anywhere from 7 to 30 days. Again, assuming that title is clear, once the title search comes back, you should be good to close. Title usually takes about 7 to 14 days max to come back, and that's a full title search. They will identify any liens, any other heirs, anyone that may be entitled to the sale of the property, and that will come forth. As long as title is clear, you should be good to close. On closing date, whether you're local or not, you and the buyer will both sign closing documents. That can be done virtually, online with a mobile notary, or that can be done in person at the local escrow office. Once you guys both sign, then the transaction will be funded and you can either walk away with a check in your hand or you can receive a direct wire to your bank account. Question number 9 is, do cash buyers buy properties with liens? Yes, most cash buyers will buy a property with a lien, regardless of what type of lien it is. It's best to be upfront with them and let them know that you have a lien on the property if you're aware about it. Otherwise, it will come up during the escrow process and during the title search. Most cash buyers will work out the lien with you. In my experience, we have had to call lien holders ourselves personally and be the intermediary between the seller and the lien holder and ask for that lien to be released. Oftentimes, the lien is paid from the proceeds of the sale from the seller's behalf. Sometimes you can negotiate with the cash buyer to see if they'd be willing to split that cost with you, but most of the times it is the seller's responsibility to pay off of that lien. Number 10 is, how do they determine the price for your property? Let's clear up some misconceptions here. While cash offers are typically lower than full retail market value, unless you and the buyer are working a creative finance or a seller finance deal, most of the time it is going to be less than what you could potentially get on the market. However, for some homes that are not in full retail condition or not completely up to what's out there on the market and need a little bit of work, oftentimes the net proceeds from working with a cash buyer versus working with the realtor tend to be the same. Once you consider the realtor commissions, closing costs, or any buyer concessions, oftentimes that price that you walk away with can be the same price that you would get with a straight outright cash offer. I always recommend my sellers to speak with a title company and have them draw up a rough net sheet and show you what you would walk away with in both scenarios, whether that's listing with the realtor and whether that's working with the cash buyer. Cash buyers assess the property's condition. So they look at what it looks like today and they conduct a full market analysis of similar homes sold recently in the market. They usually look within a half a mile radius and they look up to 6 months, sometimes a year for comparable homes. They also factor in their holding costs, what it's going to cost them to bring the house into a perfect condition, and that allows them to arrive at their fair offer. Selling quickly can mean a guaranteed closing, and if you're in a situation where you are looking to sell the property fast, a cash offer is more advantageous because there is more of a guarantee that you will close on the property. Also, if you have a home that you know is not going to qualify for a traditional home loan, sometimes working directly with the cash buyer versus listing your property and having to weed through many investors on the market, it may be better in your situation to just accept an offer outright. Number 11, and I love this question, what are cash buyers actually like? So cash buyers are real people too. They're often investors or real estate companies, and a lot of times individuals that have the funds readily available to purchase your property, again, without the need for financing. And although they are not moving into your property, most local companies do live and work in your neighborhood. A lot of the times they are typically knowledgeable about the real estate market and different real estate situations like probate, foreclosure, divorce, dealing with liens, inheritance, and the ones that have been in the business long enough have pretty much seen it all. So if your home is in complete shambles, I'm sure that they've seen worse. I know that we have. And a lot of times these sellers or these home buyers are straightforward and direct. They often don't spend a lot of time negotiating with you. They can be very flexible with your timeline. And the ones that I know are very understanding of personal situations. Working with a cash buyer can be pretty straightforward. The terms are usually a lot more clear, and you don't really need the song and dance that you may have with a traditional home buyer. Bigger companies can operate the same as an individual cash buyer as far as the sales and purchase process. However, you may get a more hands-on approach with someone local. Number 12, what are the downsides of selling your house to a cash home buying company? So selling to a cash buyer or an individual investor definitely has its pros and cons. And so here are the key trade-offs that I would say are there when you are working with a cash buyer. So number one would be that you have limited market exposure. So selling directly to a cash buyer does mean that you're missing out on putting your property on the market for it to be broadcasted, internationally as well as throughout the states. While working with a cash buyer may not allow you to showcase your property, you can mitigate this if you do want to list the property yourself on the MLS for a flat fee service if you want to reach a wider audience. However, remember, it is going to be up to you to represent yourself and negotiate with the buyers. Number two is no appraisal contingency. So a lot of sellers are used to the process of getting an appraisal on their home. And with no appraisal contingency, you won't know exactly the true full value of your property. However, in order to mitigate this, you can get a broker price opinion or conduct a professional appraisal on your own behalf. You don't need a lender to do that. You can call a professional appraiser in your area and get an idea of what your home is really worth. Number three is that you are selling it as is. So if you do have the money, time, and resources to repair the property and update it to what other homes look like on the market, then it may be worth your time to do so. However, if you don't, then selling as is may result in a lower price. And of course, the biggest trade-off probably is that you are not getting full retail value. Now, cash offers are typically lower than market value due to the repair costs that the property needs and of course the buyer's profit margins. But however, you can easily offset this trade-off because you are saving on time, realtor commissions, closing costs, and you have the added flexibility. So number 13, how do you find legitimate home buying companies? So my recommendation is always to conduct a thorough, in-depth Google home search. Once you find the home buying company that you're looking to work with, then I suggest you type in home buying company name and reviews and do a quick stalking on them. Look at their Instagram. Make sure that they have a presence online so you know that they are a real company. If they have a phone number on the website, I always suggest giving them a call. If they answer their phone right away, that's always a good sign. The second thing that you can do is once you've contacted them and if you've done your research and you feel comfortable with them, you can ask them for personal references. So I myself, as well as my partner, have given out several personal references from sellers that we've previously bought their home. And if they're doing business in the area and if they're a reputable company, they should have no problem giving you either seller references or connecting you directly with the title company that they work with or attorneys in the area. Now, these are third-party companies that should be able to vouch for them. You can always meet them in person. So if you do live in the area where your property is, then I highly suggest meeting them in person. It's always great to shake their hand and get a feel for them personally. If they're out of state or if they're unwilling to meet you in person, even though they're in state, then that would be a little bit of a red flag. And make sure that no matter what you do, you always review the offer thoroughly. We give significant time for our clients to review the offer after we provide it for them. If there's any questions, you should be able to ask freely. And if you want to, you can also consult with a real estate professional or an attorney. However, if you feel any pressure to decide quickly or you're unable to get your questions answered, then be aware. So number 14 and our 13th question kind of leads into this. What are the signs to be aware about? How do you make sure that you're not getting scammed by one of these cash home buying companies? So the number one telltale sign is that your cash offer is way too unrealistically high. It's too good to be true. They provided you with something that's even over retail market value. And again, investors are in it to make money. Yes, they do care about your personal situation, but the numbers do have to pencil out for them. So if they're offering you a price that wouldn't even make sense financially as an investor, then that is definitely something to take a deeper look into. Number two, they're pressuring you to sign or they want you to sign the agreement quickly. Be aware of anyone pressuring you to sign an agreement. Oftentimes, I'll hear investors say, or I'll hear from sellers say that, well, the investor told me they had another property to buy, so I needed to move forward and sign this contract now. Most investors have the reserves to buy other properties, and they shouldn't be pressuring you to sign a contract in no means necessary. So my number three telltale sign would be is if there's any lack of transparency. So if the buyers are vague about answering questions or they can't properly explain the escrow process to you, they can't explain the timeline to you, they're not letting you know what certain terms in the agreement mean. If there's anything in the agreement that seems a little bit fishy and they're not willing to address that, that's usually a sign that there may be something else going on that they're not sharing with you. Number four is, do they have a local online presence? Once you Google their company name, there should be other websites that pop up for them. They should have a local presence. Are they in the news? Do they have an article written about them? Can you find their personal Facebook? Local companies are owned by real people, so you should be able to find their Facebook and social media pretty easily. And never, ever, ever, ever pay a buyer an upfront fee. If they demand any upfront fees or have an issue putting an EMD down with you, that is a huge red flag. Don't ever sign any agreement until you understand all of the conditions and you clearly understand all of the terms. Again, you can go through an attorney or even speak with the title representative to make sure that you are working with the right person and you are signing the right agreement. So number 15 and our last question is, who exactly buys houses for cash? What type of cash buyers are out there in the market? So the number one type of cash buyer that you would see in your local market are going to be your big franchise companies. This would be Nextdoor, Zillow Offers, OpenPads, or any big iBuyer company. These companies pretty much operate the same way. A lot of the times they are running your property and your address through an algorithm to come up with a preliminary offer. And then at that point, they will schedule someone to come down and view your property in person. Most of these companies are trustworthy, I would just do your research and make sure that that's the type of company that you want to work with and that's the process that you're looking for, is less, because it can tend to be less of a personal approach. There are also local franchise home buying companies, which are a little bit smaller than iBuyers, but they are still large organizations. So like We Buy Houses or We Buy Ugly Houses with the Caveman or Home Investors, those franchises are good companies. However, a lot of them will wholesale your property or sell it to another investor and not be the ones to actually close on the property. If you're okay with that and if they are open with that in their agreement, then that shouldn't be a problem as long as you're getting the price that you want for the property. Then moving on to the more local investors or the people that may actually live and work in your neighborhood, a lot of them are typically looking for, I would say, one of the four categories: multifamily property, either to buy and rent for a long-term hold or potentially fix and flip; single family homes that they can add value to and turn around and sell it back on the market. They are looking for large or small multifamily properties, and some of them are even looking for land, individual parcels, or large pieces of acreage that they can develop and build either single family homes or subdivisions on. We happen to be one of those local buyers, and we do all of the following, and we will take a look at any type of property that makes sense as long as it falls in one of the markets that we buy properties in. So local people will have an online presence. You should be able to ask the community and see if anyone has worked with them. Again, it's really important to do your due diligence, whether they're local or a big company. Just make sure that you are reading all the terms and conditions that come with working with these companies. So each type of cash buyer definitely has its advantages, and it can cater to different types of needs that you may have. But one thing is for sure, when you're selling to a cash buyer, you will avoid repairs. You can sell your house as is. It will be a quick and straightforward process, and you can close pretty quickly if that is what you're intending to do. So I really hope that this video has cleared up some of the misconceptions and answered your questions about working with the We Buy Houses company, or just the concept of selling your house fast for cash. If you are looking to sell your house for a cash offer or looking to move quickly, or you're potentially facing probate or foreclosure, feel free to give us a call. We would love to see if our company could be a fit for you. We buy homes within Chattanooga, North Georgia, as well as Huntsville, Alabama. And if you're looking for more videos like this, check out our Sell Your House Fast playlist, where we cover all types of topics and all types of nuances that are involved when it comes to actually selling your house quickly. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.